Hi guys, it's Ben Heath from Lead Guru, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the do's and don'ts of the learning phase. Facebook's learning phase. There are an enormous amount of misconception when it comes to Facebook's learning phase, what you should do to your Facebook ad campaigns, what you shouldn't do, how it works. I'm going to clear those up and then explain the do's and don'ts, what you should be doing during the learning phase, what you shouldn't be doing, so you can better navigate that part of Facebook advertising. Before we get into that, I just want to very quickly ask you to smash that like button and subscribe to my channel if you are new, haven't done so already, and are interested in seeing more high quality Facebook and Instagram advertising content. Okay, so I've got a list here of all the things I want to talk about, but before I get into that, I just want to very quickly explain what the learning phase is. And I've got Facebook support doc up here, which you can obviously come and look at. I'm just going to read out the very first part and offer some context around that. So this is what Facebook say about the learning phase. Each time an ad is shown, our ad's delivery system learns more about the best people and places to show the ad. The more an ad is shown, the better the delivery system becomes at optimizing the ad's performance. The learning phase is the period when the delivery system still has a lot to learn about an ad set. During the learning phase, the delivery system is exploring the best way to deliver your ad set, so performance is less stable and cost per action is usually worse. The learning phase occurs when you create a new ad or ad set or make a significant edit to an existing one. And there's more information that they give there, but that's the nuts and bolts of it. So basically, the learning phase is something that a lot of Facebook advertisers fear. You shouldn't. I'm going to explain more about why that's the case in a minute. But the learning phase is a great thing. It's basically Facebook has taken the information that you provided. So you've said to Facebook, look, I want to target these people using these ads. I want you to spend this much, all that sort of stuff, right? And Facebook goes, okay, within those parameters, how do we get this business the best results possible? And don't forget, Facebook is highly motivated to get you the best results possible because they know if they get you the best results possible, you're going to spend more on the platform. And that helps Facebook, right? So their system is going to go, okay, we've got 1 million people to advertise to, let's say. Right, let's try and find within those million, which are the best 50,000 or best 150,000, depending on your budget to advertise to. We've got this budget to spend on, let's say, a daily basis. Okay, are we better off spending that at 8 a.m. or 5 p.m. or middle of the day? Are we better off putting these ads on Instagram? Are we better off putting them in the stories placements, either within Facebook or Instagram? Are they better off going on the Facebook feed? Should we advertise to everyone within this audience just once or twice? Or is it an offer that sells better if we advertise to each person 5, 6, 7, 8 times? So we have a lower reach, but more impressions. There's all these sorts of calculations that Facebook is making during the learning phase, and they are doing that to optimize performance. That's what the learning phase is. Now, the learning process never ends, okay? There's a more intense period at the beginning known as the learning phase. So right when you launch a new ad set or make a big significant edit to an ad set, it's going to go into the learning phase. So the learning is, there's more experimentation going on Facebook's machine learning process, but the ad set continues to learn the longer and longer it runs. So performance can often, and we've certainly seen this happen with our clients, continue to improve. It's just more intense right at the beginning, okay? So that's what the learning phase is. And I want to quickly show you the effect that it has in a perfect example. So here's a campaign that we run. It's a traffic campaign promoting a blog post of ours to a mixture of warm and cold audiences, okay? And you can see that we've got the data here. So we promoted this over, a 6-month period, spent just under £1,000 on it, didn't spend a lot. I've talked about this this particular example before, but this is such a good learning phase, learning process demonstration. So you can see what happens to your campaigns in the learning phase. So I want you to ignore this top part because this is results. We started off with a much higher budget that we then dropped back down. So much of your results is going to be dictated by the budget. What I want you to focus on is the cost per result. It's probably the most important thing that you want to focus on as a Facebook advertiser. It's going to be the make or break of your campaign. Okay, how much does it cost me to generate a purchase? How much does it cost me to generate a lead? All that sort of thing. So when we first launched this campaign, we're looking at a cost per result of about 9p. Again, this is a traffic campaign, so results are, going to be very inexpensive. Plus, we know what we're doing. So 9p cost per result, okay, on day 1. Day 2, 9p. 9s, in the 9s, 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 goes up to 10, up to 11, down to 10, up to 13. So now we're what? a week, just over a week in, and actually our results are a bit more expensive, okay? Then the results come back down again, 9p, 9p, shoot up to 11, 16, down to 8, up to 14, down to 7, back up to 10, down to 8, 9, 7, 10, 10, 8, 6, 7, 7. Okay, so we're now about a month, just over a month into this campaign, and you can see that the average here is probably around 7, whereas the average right at the beginning was a 9. Now, we went through this period here where things got really volatile. So we were down 8p, up at 14p. And again, imagine that that's your cost per purchase, and you're down at $18 cost per purchase, up to $32 cost per purchase, down to $12 cost. These sorts of things happen. They drive people crazy as Facebook advertisers because they want consistency, but this is just part of the process. So you can see the process. But look, as we continue going, we're up at 11 there, and there's always going to be an element of volatility. You're not going to get rid of this. But look, the longer we go, we're down to 7 averages, 6 averages, down to 5, 7, 5, spikes up to 9. There's always going to be variation. But look, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5. So around this point, when's that, December, campaign's been running now for about 3 months. We are less than half what we average, say, in the first 2 or 3 weeks. Less than half. That's an enormous improvement. Again, if you've launched a Facebook ad campaign and you've got a cost per conversion of, $30, and you think we need this to come down big time for our campaign to work, getting it down to, say, $15 might be the difference between you not being able to advertise and you being able to spend, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions on a campaign successfully, profitably. And you can see that not only is the cost significantly lower, say, 3 months in, but it's also much more consistent. Yes, there's still variation, there's always going to be, but it's much more consistent. We hit a patch of, okay, well, this variation here is purely calendar because that's the 31st of December, 1st of January. Obviously, that's going to have an impact. But look, we then come back down to another period of very stable, lovely, low cost, 5, 4p, etc., etc. Spikes a little bit for a while, but still stays relatively low. So this is what the learning, and by the way, we barely changed. So these changes and improvements is not our doing. This is what Facebook's doing, because this was just traffic campaign promoting blog posts. So it's not like we were creating tons of new ads for it like we would with a conversions campaign and testing things. This is very much what Facebook's optimization process looks like. So we know the learning phase is more intense at the beginning, and Facebook will say that the average learning phase is about 48 hours. Now, it depends how much you're spending. If you're not spending very much and you're generating less results, then that process, that can be extended. It can be much longer than that. If you've got a massive budget, we've seen this, you get out of the learning phase within a few hours. This we weren't spending a huge amount on. As I said, it was just a traffic campaign. Over what period of 6 months, we spend less than £1,000. So we're talking £150 to £200 a month, like not really a lot at all. So you can see that not only are we more expensive during the learning phase, but even as an extended learning phase, like a week to 2 weeks in, we're seeing really volatile results. And that's what you'd like to see during the learning phase. More expensive results, cost per conversion, whatever, at the beginning, combined with volatility, up, down, up, down, up, down. The longer you go and the continue, so you would say, for example, that at this point, when the results are all over the place and really volatile, that's a month into the campaign. Still moving, the learning process the Facebook ad campaigns goes through is going to get us all the way down to this section down here. Not only massive improvements, but also much more stability that happens over time. So that's why, yes, you're going to see a much more significant learning process and things all over the place at the beginning. Because I said, if you've got a 1 million person audience and Facebook's trying to work out the 100,000 that are the best, they might be testing all 10 segments. After a while, they'll discard a few of them and they'll be narrowing down onto the few, so you get better results. So it's going to be more volatile at the beginning, results are likely to be worse, but it still happens and it still keeps going for much longer than people traditionally associate with the learning phase of just being those first few days. A lot of people think that the learning phase is just like 3 days, then the campaign never learns again. It's all done during those periods and you can just crack on. That's not how it goes. So I thought this was a really good thing to show you. I've got a bunch of other points I want to mention. I think it's important, okay? So average going to be 48 hours for the strict learning phase, but the process continues. And as I said, that 48-hour variation is really dependent on budget, how many results you generate. If you make a significant adjustment, you will re-enter the learning phase. We made no significant adjustments to this campaign, as far as I'm aware. Maybe one or two, but I don't think so. So what does that mean? If you can see from this data that stability helps improve performance, that would lead you to believe that you should not be making any adjustment, or could lead you to believe you should not be making any adjustments to your Facebook ad campaigns. That's not correct. You have to adjust your Facebook ad campaigns. You have to improve them. If this was a conversions campaign that we're really optimizing for performance, we're trying to get the best possible results, we're going to be introducing new ads, all sorts of things. Again, particularly if we had a larger budget and we're running into ad fatigue issues. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with the learning phase. And one of the points I really want to make strongly here is that you should not be afraid of the learning phase. If you need to make an adjustment to your campaigns to help improve things, like introducing new ads, like testing new creative, like testing new targeting options, do it. The learning phase is not something to be feared, but it is something to be understood. So what you can see from this data is that yes, you should be making adjustments to your campaigns, but don't do it all the time. Don't be making a tweak on Monday morning and then again on Tuesday afternoon and then again on Thursday morning because you just can't quite leave it alone and have to do it. We like to make adjustments. Usually, it can change once every 7 days or so. And if we're going to make a number of adjustments, we're going to do them all in one go because of the learning phase. I'm not afraid of going back into the learning phase, but I don't want to live there. If you make a significant adjustment to your campaign every 2 days, you're in the learning phase all the time. You never get stability, you never get the best results. So I don't want to live in the learning phase, but I'm happy to go back into it because I appreciate that's a necessary evil. It's like a necessary thing that you have to do in order to have the massive benefit that comes with testing new audiences, testing new ads, which is super important. Something you really want to do. And you can check out, I've got other video content on how to test new ads and how often to introduce new ad creative and all that sort of stuff. Okay. Just be prepared that once you make an adjustment, your results might be erratic for a little bit, and then they should start to settle. And the process goes again and again and again. So I think people tend to fall into one of two camps, right? They tweak things all the time because they just can't leave it alone, or they're so afraid of the learning phase they never change anything. So once every, say, 7 days, is good for us. Now, we're usually operating with reasonable sized budgets. If you've got a smaller budget, I would usually be looking to extend that out. It might be once every 14 days you introduce new ads or test a new targeting option, and not more often than that. That might be quite hard for some people, but I think it's quite important, and particularly after iOS 14, when we've got a reporting delay, when we know it's taking longer for data to come in, you need to give it longer for Facebook to optimize, but also for you to be able to assess the results. That's quite important. So give your campaigns time to get out of the learning phase and then assess the results after that's taken place. So a balanced approach, like a lot of Facebook advertising strategy, is the best way to go. Now, one thing that you may have seen that's all wrapped up in the learning phase is learning limited. And Facebook's saying you're not able to get out of the learning phase because you're not generating enough results. And in fact, I'm going to jump back over to our support doc and scroll down here where we can see the learning limited. And Facebook will say here, look, this is what learning limited is. If your ad set isn't getting enough optimization events, that's whatever it is you're going for. In the campaign I just showed you, that was link clicks, it could be purchases, it could be leads, depending on your campaign objective, and then within that could be your conversion event. If your ad set isn't getting enough optimization events to exit the learning phase, the delivery column status reads learning limited. Learn more about ways to fix learning limited. Now, I've got a whole video about learning limited, what it is, what you can do about it. I'll include a link to that in the video description below. So I'd strongly recommend checking that out if you are seeing learning limited alongside your ad sets. If you are seeing learning limited, the first thing to assess is whether or not you think it's accurate. We very often see learning limited on ad sets that clearly aren't learning limited. They clearly are generating tons of optimization events. I mean, I've seen learning limited alongside ad sets that have generated thousands of conversions, for example. You're thinking, well, there's no way that's learning limited. And often it's next to an ad set that's generated far less conversions that is just saying active, not saying learning limited. So the first thing is go, okay, is this actually accurate? Now, if you're not generating many conversions or results, many optimization events, you might be thinking, okay, yeah, this is accurate. I've got a big problem with my Facebook ad campaign. What do I do about it? The first thing I want to talk about, and you can go and check out that other video for more information on learning limited. But the first thing I want to talk about with learning limited is not to panic. Ad sets, campaigns in Learning Limited can perform very well. We do it all the time. And often the measures you take to get out of Learning Limited, so basically to complete the learning phase, can do more harm than getting out of the learning phase and getting out of Learning Limited. You'd be better off just operating within Learning Limited. So for example, I've seen people triple their budgets to get out of Learning Limited. It worked, but tripling their budget overnight also spiked their cost per conversion. Not something you want to do. I've seen people go from a nice targeted audience to just an enormous overinflated audience. Again, they got out of Learning Limited, but their campaign didn't perform as well. Now, sometimes you want enormous audiences, but not always. So you have to rank everything to do with the learning phase is you have to net it out against what else you're going to do. So going back to the previous example, constantly adjusting your campaigns will keep you in the learning phase all the time. That's a net negative. The constant adjustments is not going to more than make up for always being in the learning phase. However, go the other side, never adjusting your campaigns to avoid the learning phase is also a net negative. You're better off, the advantages you get from introducing new ads, from testing new targeting options, more than outweighs the negative that comes with being in the learning phase. So it's a net positive to make the adjustments. Not all the time, 7, 10, 14-day rolling cycles, something like that. But that's something to be aware of. So as I said, go ahead and check out Learning Limited. I'll include a link, it'll pop up somewhere around this video to that video on Learning Limited if you want more info on that. But that is the learning phase, right? Don't adjust your campaigns all the time. Once every 7 to 14 days, something like that, depending on your budget. Don't be afraid of the learning phase. It's a great thing. It helps all our campaigns. If you want to test new ad creative, introduce new targeting options, do it. And that is how you should operate with the learning phase. Something to be aware of, something to be respected, not something to be feared, something that helps your campaigns. And yeah, hopefully that's clear. That's some questions around that. Hopefully that's helpful. And if this video has been helpful, comment below to let me know. Click the thumbs up button. That always really helps me out. It's much appreciated. Subscribe to my channel if you're new and you haven't done so already. Free thing I want to quickly mention is my Facebook Ads Mastermind group. So I've got a free Facebook group. It's 118,000 members as of the recording of this video. One of the best communities of Facebook advertisers in the world. We'd love to have you part of it. Completely free to join. Link in the video description. It's full of Facebook advertisers just like you and me. They're trying to get better results, asking questions, getting them answered. I'm in there all the time. I do free live trainings and things. So yeah, we'd love to have you in there. As I said, if this is useful, thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye for now.